The station known as Virel Prime floated above a quiet blue planet at the edge of a wide trade lane. It was a place where dozens of species crossed paths daily, where diplomacy and commerce blended into a fragile peace. Every corridor was monitored by the Galactic Guard, an elite force trained from childhood, selected from the strongest and most disciplined species in the known systems. Among the countless beings who moved through its halls, there was one human who was never noticed. His name was Ethan Cole, to everyone on Virel Prime. Ethan was nothing more than a janitor. He wore a plain gray uniform, carried cleaning tools, and moved silently through the station's long corridors. He mopped floors, repaired small leaks, and replaced worn panels. He kept his head low, eyes calm, voice rarely heard. Most officers did not even remember his face after speaking to him. What none of them knew was that Ethan Cole had once been part of something far more secret than the Galactic Guard itself. He had been raised in isolation, under a program that never appeared in any public record. From the moment he could walk, his life had been structured around survival, observation, and controlled exposure to danger. He had been trained not as a soldier of war, but as a responder to collapse scenarios that the galaxy never admitted could happen. He had learned how to read micro-expressions across alien species, how to disarm mechanical threats without tools, how to anticipate movement in low-gravity environments, and how to remain unnoticed even in a crowded room. By the time he reached adulthood, he could enter any facility and leave without leaving a trace of presence then. The program ended without explanation. He was placed in civilian rotation and assigned to maintenance labor aboard Virel Prime, and there he remained, on a quiet cycle rotation. The station experienced what would later be recorded as the Corridor 12 incident. It began with 12 armed intruders emerging from a service transport dock that had been compromised. They were not from any known alliance. Their armor was layered with adaptive plating, their weapons designed for rapid energy discharge. They moved with precision, taking control of sections of the station faster than security systems could react. Alarms echoed through the structure. Civilian traffic froze. Doors sealed. The Galactic Guard mobilized immediately. But the intruders had already established control over key junctions. Ethan Cole was in Corridor 12 at the time, kneeling beside a maintenance panel. His tools were spread neatly on the floor. He was calibrating a coolant regulator when the first sound of conflict reached him. He paused. Then he slowly closed the panel and stood up. The corridor lights flickered red as emergency protocols engaged. Heavy footsteps echoed from both ends of the passage. 12 intruders advanced in coordinated formation, scanning for resistance. Their sensors picked up minimal life signs in the area. Ethan remained in plain view, holding nothing but a cleaning cloth. The first intruder raised a weapon. Ethan stepped forward. There was no hesitation in his movement. He did not rush, nor did he retreat. He simply observed the spacing between the attackers, the angle of their weapons, and the rhythm of their steps. The first shot never fired. In a blur of motion, Ethan redirected the weapon arm of the first intruder, causing the discharge to strike the ceiling instead of its target path. At the same moment, he used the intruder's momentum to shift him into the second. Disrupting their formation, 2 were down before the others fully registered. What had happened? The remaining 10 reacted instantly, spreading out to surround him. The corridor became a confined arena of movement and reaction. Ethan adjusted his stance slightly, feet aligned with the center of the floor tiles, using the geometry of the space to predict angles of approach. Another intruder lunged forward. Ethan stepped aside and placed a precise strike to the joint of the armor, causing a temporary system lock in the suit's mobility frame. The intruder collapsed without a sound. The others attempted to compensate, switching to staggered firing patterns. Energy bolts streaked through the corridor, but Ethan moved between them as if reading a pattern only he could see. He used walls, support beams, and even falling debris as reference points to guide his positioning. Within moments, 4 more intruders were neutralized. The remaining 7 began to hesitate. Hesitation, something Ethan recognized immediately. It meant the pattern was breaking. He advanced in close quarters. The engagement ended quickly. Ethan did not rely on force alone. He redirected strikes, disrupted balance points, and used timing more than strength. Each motion was efficient, each step deliberate. Within less than a minute, all 12 intruders were incapacitated. Their weapons scattered across the corridor floor. Silence returned. Ethan stood among them, breathing steady. Uniform still clean except for a faint mark of dust on his sleeve. Security forces arrived moments later. Weapons drawn, expecting a full combat situation. Instead, they found 12 restrained intruders and one janitor. Calmly retrieving his cleaning cloth from the floor, a commander stepped forward. Confused by the scene, Ethan simply nodded once, as if reporting a minor maintenance issue, then returned to the maintenance panel he had left open earlier. The Galactic Guard. Investigation that followed revealed nothing about Ethan Cole's origins. His records were minimal. His assignment approval traced back through layers of administrative systems that no longer existed in active oversight databases. Every attempt to verify his background led to sealed archives. What could be confirmed was only what had been. Witness 12 armed intruders had taken control of a secured corridor and a single unarmed human. Janitor had neutralized them without assistance. In the days that followed, rumors spread through Virel Prime. Some claimed he was a hidden operative from a forgotten Earth defense program. Others believed he was part of an experimental integration project with unknown purpose. A few even suggested he was a guardian placed quietly among them long before the station was built. Ethan never responded to any of it. He continued his work. Corridor maintenance, system checks, floor cleaning, panel repairs. Yet something changed in how others saw him. Galactic Guard trainees began to observe him from a distance. Officers paused when he walked by. Even those trained since birth to serve as elite defenders found themselves reassessing what they understood about combat readiness. One young recruit once asked how he stayed so calm. Ethan simply replied that most problems were easier to solve when observed. Fully before reacting, the recruit did not fully understand, but remembered the words. Weeks later, another security breach occurred on a distant section of the station. This time, the response was immediate and overwhelming from the Galactic Guard. The situation was resolved without civilian risk. Ethan was not involved, but reports comparing both incidents circulated internally. Analysts noted that the Corridor 12 incident had been resolved faster, with fewer resources, and without structural damage. No official conclusion was drawn. Instead, Ethan Cole's assignment was quietly left unchanged. He remained a janitor. And yet, in the silent understanding of those who had seen the footage, a new respect formed. Not for rank, not for training lineage, and not for institutional authority, but for the unseen discipline of a human who could end a threat in silence and still return to cleaning a floor without disruption. On Virel Prime, the Galactic Guard continued to train since birth, but none of them forgot the corridor, where 12 armed intruders met the calm of a human who had never needed to announce what he was capable of.